Welcome back to Elite Growth Podcast, where we dive into the stories and strategies driving business growth in today's fast-changing world. I'm your host, Kiran Prakash. Today's episode is titled From Battlefield to Boardroom, Marketing Strategy with Sam Ancliff of I-nexus. Sam's journey is a remarkable one, from serving British Army to leading multi-million-dollar marketing programs for enterprises like Microsoft and AWS, and now shaping the growth and strategy at I-nexus. He describes himself as entirely data-driven, passionate, and about automation. And today, we will explore how these instincts, honed in military, have transformed his approach to B2B SaaS marketing. But before we dive in, a quick thank you to our sponsor, NeuroAgentic AI Labs. They help B2B SaaS companies integrate tailored AI solutions to increase efficiency, automate key workflows, and unlocking growth without need to hire an internal AI team. Yeah, without further ado, let's dive into this podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Sam.
Thank you very much, mate. Really glad to be here, actually.
Yeah, thank you. Sam, you transitioned career in British Army to leading multi-million-dollar marketing programs for enterprises like Microsoft and AWS. And what was the journey like, and how did you wind up in B2B SaaS marketing?
Completely accident is probably the short answer, but pretty sure you'll probably want a little bit more explanation than that. So I had a very unusual career to start with anyway. So I actually dropped out of school when I was 15. So I had no qualifications to my name, absolutely nothing. I grew up in a very working class area. My life chances, as it were fairly limited at the time. So I joined the British Army when I was 16. I joined infantry regiment because, again, having no qualifications at the time, fairly limited my options of what I could do. And I accidentally, and you'll probably find out my career is a lot of accidents, but I accidentally stumbled into languages when I was in the military. So I was walking to breakfast one morning, and my commander came up to me and says, "Hey, aren't you meant to be on a language course?" I was like, "Some other guy." He was like, "Well, you should go on this language course as well." So literally turned back around, didn't get my breakfast that morning, and went straight off to go on this language course. And I was quite good at learning languages. So I studied Pashtun and Dari. So Dari is the Afghan dialect of Farsi.
Oh, wow.
When I was in the military. And that sort of pivoted my role. So I became a cultural specialist within the military. So much more moving away from the sort of typical infantry skills, the war fighting side of things, to more community building, hearts and minds. So that was sort of bread and butter of what I was doing. And I did that for most of my career. And then as the Afghanistan started to quiet down, so did the need for having a bunch of Pashtun and Dari. So my also got drawn down, and I was given the option to transfer to a different regiment and continue doing languages that way. But I decided it was a good moment for me to actually leave the forces. Probably as well that I was recently married at the time as well. So military career probably didn't tie too well with married life. And when I first got out, I started my own business. I became a recruitment consultant, specializing in recruiting other recruiters. And I stumbled into marketing whilst running my own business. So I had no idea what any of the proper terms was, or even the right things I should be doing. I just went purely off instinct and gut. And invested absolutely everything I could into LinkedIn. And when I say invested, I wasn't spending a penny in marketing my own business. This is purely just a time effort. And about 6 months, I got to the point where I was receiving daily inbound calls from potential clients who were looking to retain me for their recruitment. And it was purely from having all the right ingredients for a successful marketing strategy that I was able to build this. And I realized after some time that I decided the recruitment side of it wasn't what I was actually enjoying. I was enjoying much more building my brand, building up my business, and sort of those marketing skills that I hadn't even yet identified at that point. So I decided to pivot. I shut up shop on my business. I initially started working in the public sector, doing like campaign management, communications management. Decided that public sector wasn't the area I wanted to be in, but was enjoying sort of the work and the confirmation that marketing was actually a pathway. So I decided to reset my career from scratch. I interviewed for a entry-level marketing role for a company called Ingram Micro. Um, During the interview process, they then offered me a more senior position, and it just snowballed from there, really.
Wow, that's amazing. And also, what they say is if you can pick up foreign languages quickly, it means that you can pick up anything because that is the toughest thing
Well,
to learn any language.
I mean, the fascinating thing as well with languages is it changes the way you perceive the world. So the easiest example to give is a German speaker would describe a bridge as being strong, powerful, tall, typically masculine words, because in German, bridge is a masculine word.
Yeah.
A speaker would describe it as elegant, beautiful, graceful. The same bridge, but because it's a feminine word in French, they're going to give it more feminine descriptions. And when you transfer that across speaking multiple languages, and particularly for people who are far better polyglots than I am, it changes how they perceive everything. It changes how they perceive other people. It changes how they perceive different things. I mean, a very famous tribe in Africa that they don't have word for left and right. They have cardinal directions, so north, east, west, south, and they naturally can orientate themselves to north without using a compass because everything about them is orientated to the cardinal directions. So it's a massive skill, and I would say anyone who's got a little bit of spare time, even just using something like Duolingo, should explore other languages.
Yeah, no, I never looked at language in this aspect. What you mentioned, I thought, okay, it's to communicate with other people, but there's a lot into it. Like that's interesting to know.
Yeah, honestly, I never use my languages since I left the military in terms of in a conversation,
Yeah.
but I use it every day in the way it changes the way I think about things.
Excellent. And also, you describe yourself entirely data driven, passionate about automation. And that's something which is very much required in current world of AI. And how did these instinct develop and how have they shaped your marketing philosophy?
Uh, I would say the instinct initially came from the typical marketing problem. I don't have enough people, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough resource to do all the things I want to do. So I naturally started looking at ways to streamline things, where we can remove the manual tasks, where we can remove the processes or streamline the process as much as possible. And genuinely speaking, there's so much time wasted, not just in marketing, just in general business, day-to-day life, everything. There's so much time wasted on repetitive tasks that, particularly now with the sort of emergence of mainstream AI, can just be removed completely. And I started really exploring this when I was running my own business, looking at how I can, as a one-man band, a sole trader, how I could amplify what I was doing more efficiently. And I took it to the next level in Micro when I started having some real sort of budget to play with and could try different tools. And I remember one of the key ones, this was way before generative AI was even talked about on a regular basis. It was still very much a hypothetical thing used sort of by the largest organizations, certainly not deployed at a team. And there was a generative AI tool, a very early one, that was designed for students. And it
Mhm.
was effectively a way to get around plagiarism checkers. That's all it was. If they copy and paste a document, it would reword it, rewrite it, and make it so it could get past a plagiarism checker. And I started playing with this tool and thinking, well, if it can do that, it can help write marketing content.
Yeah.
And I integrated it into our system at the time. We were using Eloqua, and it started pushing through content directly into our CMS just by repurposing prompts I was giving it. And we weren't even calling them prompts back then; it was still very early. So that was sort of an early success in automation, and I've driven it all throughout. Every time I'm looking at, do I make a hire? Do I need to get a new tech stack in place? Do I need to some of the activities we're doing, the first question I always ask myself, well, actually, can we automate it? Can we make it more efficient first?
Yeah. No, because right now it's all about the number game, right? Like, and especially like depending on number of leads, like if your lead needs to convert into sale, it's like you have like at 30 leads to convert into one sale. Like in a
Mhm.
typical scenario, I think that's where the automation is very key right now. And you're already before the AI came, you have already experimented with it, and now I think this is a smooth sale. I think with generative AI.
Honestly, it's a great time for people like me who are
Yeah.
naturally interested in this stuff because there's there's new things to try every day now.
Yeah.
It's fantastic, but it's also slightly dangerous because I can very easily get myself lost in the tools and sometimes just start playing with new toys that are coming out on a constant basis.
Yeah. So I wanted to know more about I-nexus, and for those unfamiliar, what is I-nexus strategy software, and what core problems that solves for organizations?
So I-nexus is a B2B SaaS company. The solutions that we build are ultimately designed to do one thing, and it's about connecting people and organizations with their strategy. There's a very old-fashioned mentality that you still see in a lot of businesses today of a boardroom getting together, coming up with a strategy, going out to their VPs and the directors and saying, this is what we're going to do. And no one really understanding why they're pushing these different annual objectives, what the big picture is, and more importantly as well, the board not seeing how the work on the ground is actually relating back to that strategy. So we solve that through technology. It's all about connecting the different stages of strategy creation and execution throughout an organization to give everyone that visibility and shared purpose with what they're doing.
Yeah, I think that's very key, right? Like for any organization, I think. What are the target organizations? Like, is there any specific type of organizations you target, or?
As so historically, we have always worked well with sort of large multinational manufacturing organizations and pharmaceuticals and basically people with large assembly plants and sort of manufacturing sites. So we're going to have our bread and butter. And that's largely because our software is built in lean principles, and lean obviously originated from the manufacturing industry, particularly the Toyota production system. It's central to how our software works. But that said, we're seeing this emerge into new markets almost constantly. We saw this initially with lean just as a methodology when software companies started adopting lean practices. But now we're seeing it day in, day out. We've got government departments that are working with us. We've got interest from the healthcare sector. We've got also sort of new unique organizations that are coming forward. And particularly, we just launched a new product as well, which is designed to be much more self-start and quite literally a swipe your credit card and get started kind of thing rather than that enterprise solution. And we are seeing interest from pretty much every industry at the moment. People recognize that there is now a gap. They need something to manage their strategy, and we're seeing more and more organizations looking for those solutions now.
Yeah, that's the key, right? Like, you have an idea and you know that there's huge demand out there. That's a good place to invest.
Yeah.
So,
And the cost of not having something is ridiculous as well. Like there was a statistic, 79% strategies fail. And
yeah,
when you look at that across the cost to an organization, that strategy might be a cost saving initiative to reduce cost by 10%. It might be a sales initiative for a new product. And if nearly 4/5 of your strategy is falling short or failing completely, you're losing money or leaving money on the table.
yeah. And do you have any competitors at this point, like for this product?
We do have competitors, but it's still a very new market. There's not any big players. There's no Microsofts in the strategy space. There's no AWSs. All very much sort of businesses ranging from 1 or 2 million ARR, maybe up to about 20 to 30 million at the top end. No one's really affected it yet. No one's really taken control of this market. And I think largely it's because the solutions are still trying to balance out and find what is actually the right way to go about this. But at the same time, the market as well is still only just discovering this need. It's still very much in that early adopter stage.
Yeah. So if someone wants to start using this application, like where would they start? Like how would they go about?
Um, I would say not to start with the application, and that's probably slightly unexpected considering my job is to market this software. But if you're just getting the software in and you think it's going to solve all your problems, then you're just going to spend a lot of money and get no real output. And we tell people this all the time on discovery calls. Buying the software is not going to solve all your problems. You need to solve the problems within your organization first. Working with some specialist consultants is going to help, but also bringing in those people in-house who can become your strategy champions. If you want to follow a lean methodology, then you need to have a senior person with lean practitioner background. If you want to follow Hoshin Kanri, you need to have a Hoshin Kanri background. If you don't have systems and processes and ultimately the cultural changes in place first in an organization. There's no point starting with the software.
Does I-nexus provide that support as well? Do you have consultants who can do that, like
We
the organization wants?
we don't consult as such, so it's not a service that we specifically offer. That said, as part of our onboarding process, we do naturally customize and build things towards people's workflows, but we're not going to design their workflows from scratch for them. That said, we partner with a lot of people who are absolutely amazing at what they do, and we've got a small network of partners, and it's intentionally kept small because we want to know that these people are going to give the right advice on the other end. So we typically will signpost rather than deliver the whole thing. But if it's just a case of polishing and tweaking, then absolutely our success team is phenomenal at that kind of stuff.
Perfect. Okay. And what have the biggest hurdle in scaling demand and pipeline for for a strategy execution platform like yours?
It's an interesting one. Ingram Micro, that's the old job. I-nexus, sorry, has been around for a long time, and it's tried a lot of things over the years, and some of those haven't worked. At one point, we had a massive headcount, we had a large sales team, and it wasn't delivering what it should be doing. Ultimately, we've now got a fraction of the sales team in terms of headcount, and we are having one of our best sales periods in history. In fact, I think it actually is our best sales period in history as of the last couple of closed deals. And ultimately, it comes down to getting the basics right. And this does kind of tie back into military background, actually. Certainly anyone who's ex-British military, but I would hazard to guess that a lot of international forces would recognize as well. Getting the basics right is the fundamentally most important thing you can do in an organization, no matter what you're trying to do. If you haven't got the basics right, then you are just setting yourself up for failure because you've not got those foundations in place. So I took that philosophy and applied it into a concept that I called internally building tall. So we were a bit of all things to all men at one point, and we were trying to go after loads of different organizations, and we were making some gut feel assumptions of, well, it should work for this organization, so we should try and go after this organization because why wouldn't it work? And I stripped all that back and refocused as a single vertical, single territory at a time, and was running this for about 2 years, where we would just do everything we can in that one vertical and that one market and that one GM territory, and then rotate through and then making sure that we've got the whole content sort of sphere covered, making sure that we've got every area addressed, making sure that our sales team is all over this, our success team can deliver the best possible thing for this one specific vertical. And that naturally breeds success. And what we saw as one of our biggest shifts, if you numbers and revenue and stuff like that, the biggest shift we went from 9 to 9.5% close rate, so it feels created, to closed one. We're now around a third as of recently, and it's because we got better at doing the basics. We're still going at the same size of market, but we're going after one market really, really well. In fact, I actually started writing a internal playbook for this. I thought it'd be really useful for my team if they could just pick this up and replicate it. And it's almost turned into its own thing now. So I'm hoping to publish it as a resource for people more widely as well. Just a step by step. Here's how you can get good at the basics. Here's how you can get all those things right before you start running off and trying to do cool stuff. And there is very much a temptation for marketers that we want to do the cool stuff. We want to, have those billboards in Times Square, but why have a billboard in Times Square if you've not optimized your landing page to convert through to demos?
Yeah, I totally agree. And also, when you narrow down to an industry, you can actually have the case studies. You can just say the story of how it has helped a specific organization and
Exactly.
makes the adoption quicker. And that's very key. I think that playbook will be very useful for the marketing people, I think. Yeah.
I hope so. I do hope so.
Okay. And like we check back in 2 years, what does the success looks like for I-nexus in terms of market penetration and revenue?
So 2 years from now, it's going to be an interesting one. So we've just launched our new product, and it's designed to be much more downstream. We've traditionally gone to medium to large organizations. We want to start bringing in smaller organizations. Our mission as a business is to reach thousands, tens of thousands of organizations, help them be better at their strategy. But we can't do that with a piece of software that takes 6 to 9 months to sell that's going to cost, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands pounds per year to maintain, because that is not attainable for everyone. It's only attainable for the large organizations. So 2 years from now, what we want to see is our market penetration not necessarily shooting up ridiculously from a revenue side of things, because we want to have this low cost solution going into the market. But what we want to do is be talking to thousands of organizations instead of hundreds. We want to be reaching into every single area that we can and helping every organization we possibly can achieve more. And the only way we can do that is by being present, by being available. So for me, it's less so about the revenue numbers. Obviously, there's revenue numbers tied in. Ultimately, I want to get paid, and everyone in the business wants to get paid. But that's not the focus. The focus is we become synonymous with the word strategy.
I think because it's a software product, and it also needs to keep improving, right? Like especially with the new like generative AI stuff, needs to adapt that, and there's also a lot of investment might be going into that product, making the product to the next level. I think that's also a key thing.
Yeah, I forget where I heard it now, but there's someone who said that if you're not incorporating AI into your GM software solution, then you're going to fall behind. And it's not because generative AI or any of the sort of new technologies that are coming out are particularly game changing for us software. It's actually the opposite. It's becoming the default. And if you don't have that default, it's going to be a massive gap in your tech stack. And our current solution, like our primary solution, Workbench, hasn't got AI capability right now. Absolutely, we are racing to get this capability into the product. It's not because there's this huge demand and we think it's going to absolutely explode the product into new territories. Although I'm sure it will. But it's because if we don't have it, then we're going to fall behind our competitors. We're going to not be able to deliver what is expected of us. And our new product was built AI first and released with two separate AI models built into it.
Oh wow, that's quite cool.
Yeah, horrifying. One is trained on me as well, which is really disturbing. It doesn't have any external links. Sorry, forgot to mute my phone there. Yeah, so it doesn't have any links to me. Sorry, I just my train of thought. Let me restart that so you got a nice editing point. So yeah, so the one of them horrifically is trained on me. It's got no link to the outside world. It's purely trained on content. So it's looking at sort of the last 2, 3 years of content, but ultimately I've written, my team has written. And it's quite amusing when I ask it questions because I can actually see some of my mannerisms and my writing styles come back out of this AI now. So it's almost got a little doppelganger sat in the product.
And are there new use cases, integration, or geographies you're prioritizing in next 12 to 18 months?
It's an interesting one. We've been talking about this a lot, and the natural consequence of the whole Trump tariff saga was we wanted to at least explore new markets on the basis of, well, if the US does shut its doors to us, if we can't do as well as we were hoping in the US markets, then we need to have an alternative. So we started exploring some different markets. We're very early stage, and I wouldn't be able to say that any particular market is going to be the next big market for us, but absolutely we're looking at those manufacturing hotspots that are emerging. For example, Cambodia at the moment, there's huge investments going into Cambodia in terms of manufacturing sites. India is rapidly becoming one of the largest manufacturing sort of centers in the world. And many areas of Africa are also emerging now with huge amounts of investment going in. So absolutely, we are looking at those markets so that we can give that support where need be. But it's early days for us yet. It is absolutely early days.
Okay. And the product, does the product integrate with something like, or is it a standalone
I know,
product?
so we do integrate. One of the common integrations that we've got actually is just into Microsoft Teams and stuff like that to push notifications out across the organization when you've got so just completed a task and now they need it signing off by so and so, having that integration built in. But we can integrate it into any piece of software that is sort of used in the day-to-day sort of project management space or business productivity space. So Jira is another very common one that we integrate into. But we have a wonderful guy in our integration team who's an absolute wizard at just plugging it into whatever he needs to plug it into, and it works fantastic. But on that note, actually, it does make me think of a point that I don't think there's a world where software can't integrate anymore. I'm buying software. I'm not buying anything in isolation. I'm looking at how it fits into my wider tech stack. And if something doesn't integrate, it needs to be that much better to justify me taking the time to integrate it myself. If it's not got that native solution, it's going to immediately fall behind its competitors.
What are the pitfalls companies should avoid right now, like in what you have seen and looking forward? Yeah.
I mean, that's an absolutely massive question, really. Um, it, the problem that a lot of organizations get trapped in, and we see this all the time, is they come up with wonderful ideas, they come up with these brilliant plans, and then they get distracted by the latest shiny thing. And that is the biggest thing that's going to cut businesses short. If you have set your 3-year ambition to, increase your market share by 20%, for example, and then suddenly you go, oh, this new thing, it's really cool, and we should start focusing on this now. If that new thing doesn't feed into your 3-year goal, then you've got either your 3-year goal is wrong or the new thing is a distraction. And organizations do this all the time. They chase these vanity projects and they end up forgetting about their core strategy and their core objective of the business. And they lose track. They get pulled off on all these different pathways all the time. And it's something that happens to marketers, it's something that happens to C-suite, to salespeople. They chase the new shiny things without sticking to their mission or ultimately going back to what is the thing I'm ultimately trying to achieve here. And it's again, I'm going to back on my military background. So the regiment I was part of was called the Rifles, and the Rifles have a concept called the thinking rifleman, and it originated from the early days of light infantry. So back when everyone else was marching in three ranks with their nice bright red jackets on and standing in a line and being told exactly when to pull the trigger, the Rifles or the early ancestor regiments of Rifles were skirmishers. They were fighting independently. You didn't have an officer or a non-commissioned officer nearby telling you what to do. You had to think for yourself. So that history fed into the mentality of the modern day rifleman, in that we don't put someone down or put someone off for questioning an order. If I say, "Hey, Kieran, I need you to go do this thing," I would 100% expect you to ask me why. Because if you don't understand the why you're doing it
Yeah.
and what it's ultimately feeding into, when something doesn't go perfectly to plan, you're not going to be able to self-correct. You're going to need me to correct you because I've not given you the full picture. And similarly, on that basis, I don't know everything. And if I'm building a team, I don't want to hire people who are less capable than me. I want to hire people who are better than me at the functions I'm hiring them for. So if I'm telling them, do this thing in exactly this way, I'm not letting them live up to their full potential. I'm not letting them apply their skills and their context to achieve a greater goal. So the question of what should always be asked, why am I being told to do this thing? How does it play into the big picture?
Yeah. I think with the marketing aspect mentioned, right? Like your plan to expand to wider business and wider market. So, and you mentioned your marketing team has shrunk down right now. And do you think, um, like, what is like, do you want to build a bigger marketing team or use all the like latest AI tools and improve the marketing? What is your strategy?
Both is the answer. There is a larger version of team in terms of headcount that I do see in the future for us, and absolutely I want to start bringing those people in. But I don't want to be hiring the team of 2010. I want to be hiring the team that is embracing these new tools.
Yeah.
Ultimately, if someone turns around to me in an interview and says, I'm incredibly lazy and I've worked out how AI can do 90% of my job, I'm probably going to hire that person because I want the people who are using this new technology to amplify the amount of work they can do. Personally, I'm doing the work of 10 people now. AI is enabling me to do so much more. I don't want to hire someone who's just going to work how they worked 10, 15, 20 years ago. I want to hire someone who's going, no, I don't need to do this myself anymore. I can get AI to take it over for me. I can get AI to streamline or make this more efficient. So, yeah, it's both. I need more people, and I probably will always need more people. It's every manager's problem is always I need to hire more people, but
Yeah.
it's about hiring people who are going to embrace the technology and ultimately give more value than someone would have done 10 years ago.
Yeah, and that's what I say, right? Like in next 2-3 months or by next year, the AI is not a major threat for your job. It's people who knows AI. Like
Mhm.
So it's anybody will hire it is the skills AI is very key, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I was hiring a content marketing manager today, one of the first things I'd want them to tell me is how they can build a custom GPT that manages brand and tone of voice, and helps them draft content briefs or do keyword searches or whatever. Because that's something I've done. I'm using AI to cross-check my work to make sure I'm matching our tone of voice, to make sure I'm matching our brand guidelines. That's something that, previously you would have had a junior content writer who would draft it up, and then the content manager would probably look through it. Then in large organization, you might even had a head of brand or something would also look for it, all before this thing actually gets published. It can now be done by one person. So I want the person who's going to say, yeah, this is how I'm going to use AI to cut out all those unnecessary steps.
Yeah. And also, what I've been noticing is right now, when you start using AI, people when you start approaching the leads, they are like, okay, are you sure you're directly approaching me, or is it some automated system approaching me? Things are changing. People understand, like, okay, yeah, have the like that. Okay, this is kind of mass email going to people, and that's something we need to be careful, I think, as marketeers.
To be honest, I think the biggest thing is don't hide it. Don't pretend your AI content isn't AI.
Yes.
Just embrace it. We all know we're using it. Everyone's
Yeah.
using it.
Yeah.
So why pretend it's not? I've seen some prompts, or these new AI experts that are emerging on LinkedIn, which is hilarious because they've been using AI for about a year and now they're calling themselves an expert. But they're going like, oh, here's a prompt on how you can make AI sound more human. And it's like, I don't want it to sound more human. If I'm using AI, I want it to sound like AI. If it's giving value, I don't care who wrote it. So if someone sends me a sales message and it's ultra personalized, but I see an M dash halfway through, I'm not going to go, well, no, it's AI generated. I'm not interested. If it's relevant to me, it's relevant. But the people who are hiding it is a problem. People can tell the difference between AI, so there's no point trying to hide it.
I think that's a very good point you made, Sam. It's better to tell, like, even if you're calling a customer service, and if it's just the AI answering you, like, it's better to say that I am the AI version of AI support engineer
Yeah,
speaking to you. Let
yeah,
me,
100%.
yeah, that makes 100% sense. Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
And
and I know some research like Hunter. So Hunter do like an outbound emailing platform. We do some data enrichment and stuff like that as well. And they basically collated a list of human created and AI created cold outreach emails and ran
yeah,
a little survey to basically see if people could tell the difference. I sat through it myself, and I think I got two-thirds of it right. So
nice.
roughly within margin of error, it was 50-50, and I was just guessing my way through. And they haven't released the full results yet, but I suspect that's probably going to be fairly average. I expect most people will not reliably be able to tell the difference anyway.
Yeah. And I saw on your LinkedIn profile you also do podcasts. So what subject do you talk on, and what how my audience can find you?
Yeah, so for my sins, I produce the Strategy Hero podcast. So it's an entity that's ultimately owned and operated by I-nexus, but we try and keep it fairly independent from a brand. The host, Simon Crowther, will typically replace the water cooler conversations, as I would call them, the conversations we used to have in an office when you could just go chat to a colleague and swap some ideas over lunch or a coffee.
Yeah.
That we just don't get to have anymore. So we invite some fairly broad guests in there, all of them strategy related in some way. But for example, we just recorded an episode with Martin Reeves, which goes live in a couple of weeks' time. And he's the chairman of the research arm of the Boston Consulting Group. Massive
Mhm.
player. He's literally wrote several books on strategy. But then on the other side of it, we had an elected police and crime commissioner, and they were both talking strategy just in so many different ways. Martin is obviously fluent in the current terminologies and best practices, whereas Festus, our police and crime commissioner, he was talking about how he would just go down and chat to his police officers and hear firsthand what was going on. And the host was like, "Well, that's a Gemba walk. You're talking about a Gemba walk," and he's like, "Oh, I've never heard that term in my life." But he's doing it. He's doing the same things, just in a different way. So we bring these different people who are living and breathing strategy to share those ideas and swap what they're doing.
And the concept you mentioned, which drive your podcast, like the cooler talks, like that's exactly as I mentioned with the remote working. We miss that right now, and And that's a good way of bringing that. That's really good.
100. I've had some of my best ideas over a beer with a colleague, and unfortunately, we don't get to do that as often anymore.
Yeah. And companies are like still like pushing for 2 days a week or kind of, but still that's not enough. You go there, like you don't meet all your colleagues, and it's very hard.
Yeah, one concept I saw recently, which I thought was quite a cool idea, is they ring fence an hour every Friday, and you get matched with a random person in the business, and you basically just have lunch with them, virtual lunch with them. It's
Okay.
optional, so they're not making people do this, but you sign up and you'll get paired with, it might be, um, someone from HR, might be someone from marketing, might be someone from finance. You're just going to get paired with a random person in the business, and you have a coffee and some lunch and just chat about whatever it is you want to chat about. And I thought that was a really cool concept for particularly for a 100% remote organization to bring some of it back in because we are missing so many learning opportunities, especially for more junior members of an organization to just learn from their colleagues and learn from their peers.
Yeah, and also it's not just like what I found, like not just work related. You learn about their passion. Like right now, speaking to you, I learned a lot about many things which I wouldn't have, like if I wouldn't have spoken to you. It's I miss those things, and kind of
Mhm.
your passion becomes my passion. Like, oh, okay, I haven't tried this. Let me dive into it. Like many of the things for me has happened speaking to my colleagues, and that's something missing right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And we're all worse for it ultimately. I mean, I'm a big believer in remote working. I've got a 2-year-old daughter, so it massively helps my work-life balance, being able to be at home and look after my child.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I recognize the fact I'm losing these learning opportunities. We're becoming cold. We're, communicating over Slack and email and LinkedIn. We're not talking to people as much as we used to.
Yeah, have a 2-year-old daughter too. I guess.
So you know my pain.
Okay. Okay, let's jump into rapid fire questions. So, one book every marketer should read. What would you suggest?
Um, I mean, my own when I publish it, but I would go for product-led growth. So even
Okay.
if you're not selling stuff where, even if you're not selling a product-led solution, if it's still going to be sales-led, product-led growth is going to be fundamental to how we shape marketing day to day. So product-led growth is by Wes Bush, and the first book I'd recommend.
Okay. And you gave a clue that you're writing a book, or is it complete, or like, well,
It's
okay.
in an early, and I need to probably get over my imposter syndrome a little bit and just say it's not in an early draft. It's actually good to go, and I just need to get it out. But yeah, I'm hoping over the next month or so I should have it a link available for people.
Oh, okay. Wow. Then please share it with me, and so that I can share it with my audience
Absolutely,
as well.
thank you,
That will be great read for me as well. Okay.
thank you.
And so data, which wins more often for you, data or
Data
institution? Yeah.
wins. Data
Yeah.
wins.
Yeah.
You can't remove someone's intuition as well. Data can lie, or rather, the person interpreting the data can interpret it wrong. So as much as you might look at some numbers and think, yeah, these are black and white, if your gut is telling you those numbers don't feel correct, then you need to be challenging them. So whilst data wins, it doesn't completely replace intuition.
And so you might use a lot of marketing outreach. Like, do you what do you think which is the most underrated marketing outreach channel right now?
Um, I even though it feels like there is so many podcasts out there, I'm going to use podcasts as an example. And I don't know the original reason why you started your podcast, but I certainly know why we started the one with I-nexus. And it wasn't to have thousands of listeners. It wasn't to have, this massive sort of the next, God, I forget the name of it now, but it was the next huge podcast. What it was about was actually, yeah, becoming a channel for us to reach out to potential partners. So a lot of the guests are people we could work with and recommend. So we used it almost as a way to interview partners. And when you look at a podcast from that point of view, forget about your viewers, forget about the numbers, forget about the sort of vanity metrics, and focus on the valued conversations you're having. It's quite easily the best return on investment we've got. Our podcast costs us almost nothing to run.
Yeah. No, even mine, like main focus is like right now, what I'm seeing is with AI and the way everything is changing, people need to start focusing on, like, instead of saying I want to be a developer, especially the young audience, I want to be a DevOps engineer, I want to be a marketing manager. They need to shift in their thinking, like they want to be a problem solver. And for that, like, people like you, when I interview, like, it's a great value add for them, like, to focus on, okay, given a problem, how do we solve this? And that's the main focus.
And it's one thing that AI can't really replace right now. As much
Yeah.
as AI can do, sort of the fake videos and the fake sort of voiceovers, that it can't do a human interaction, a genuine human interaction. It can't talk like two people like you and I are. So it's one thing that can make you stand out as a business as well, having that video content, having that audio content, having the stuff that makes you human.
Yeah. And also, you have mentioned you're working on some charities and also training the cadets. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, it's so I was a army cadet myself as a child. And when I left forces, I initially thought I'm never going to wear the uniform again. Sold all my kit and yeah, happily became a civilian. And it was a couple of years later I saw some ads looking for adult instructors to help out. And I thought I can do that, once a week I can go teach some lessons. And generally I fell in love with it. I love working with cadets. I love working with my fellow instructors. And it gives so much value both to them. Some of the cadets I've seen come through have gone on to be absolutely phenomenal. I mean, if you remember the Nightingale hospitals during COVID,
Yeah.
it was one of our ex-cadets was in charge of the building of all the Nightingale hospitals. She's then was in, I don't know what rank she is now, probably a general at this rate. But seeing those success stories. But then the benefit I get to myself as well is it's cleansing, and it's why I've started exploring much more volunteering opportunities as well. When you're sat there in the grind of your work every single day, sometimes you just need to take a different perspective. And I'm a bit of a workaholic. I can't just sit there and do nothing. But going and doing a different type of work, going to, sit in a board meeting for a charity, or going in for a week with cadets teaching navigation or fieldcraft lessons, it's still hard work, but it's different. And it lets you just think and reflect and almost recharge your batteries. And you get to talk with people with completely different perspectives as well. The amount of times I will send a marketing campaign to a fellow instructor who's a police officer. He's never going to buy my software. He's never going to do anything with us. He's never going to engage with us. But I send him my campaigns, and particularly the creative, and say, "What's your first thoughts? What's your gut reaction on this?" So yeah, it's something I very much enjoy doing, but also get so much value from myself as well.
Okay. I think that's bring us to the end of today's episode of Elite Growth Podcast. A huge thank you, Sam, for sharing your insights and moving from battlefield to boardroom, and also sharing about the language skills and how it helps. And that's very new for me. And yeah, and the role of automation and product-led growth. So these were all very great inputs, and I think my audience will definitely make good use of it. Yeah, special thanks to our sponsor, NeuroAgentic AI Labs. So if you are in a B2B SaaS company looking to harness AI to automate workflows, drive efficiency, and fuel growth, please check them out. I think, yeah, the audience, if you have enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, share, and leave us a review. It helps us to bring more inspiring leaders onto the podcast. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you very much for having me.
Cheers.